I never expected to find my childhood love performing on the street. Unbelievable reunion. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the bustling city. I wandered through the streets, lost in thought, when a haunting melody pierced the air. My heart raced. I could feel its something unexplainable tugging at my soul. As I approached the sounds, I couldn't shake the odd sense of familiarity. A crowd formed, drawn in by the captivating performance. I squeezed through the throng, my chest tightening with each step. And that's when I saw him. Elijah. My heart stopped. After all these years, there he was, standing under a flickering street lamp, the last remnants of dusk framing his face. His guitar strummed with such passion, each chord vibrating deep within me. I could see the emotion etched on his features, the same spark that had once ignited our young love. But he was different now. Shadows danced in his eyes, a mixture of pain and wisdom. I felt that familiar lump in my throat, memories flooding back our laughter, whispered promises under the stars that I remembered the day he vanished. No goodbyes, just an empty space where he used to be. My life had spiraled since then, lost jobs, broken friendships, loneliness suffocating me like a thick fog. I often wondered what happened to him. Had he found happiness? Or was he as lost as I was? Suddenly, a voice cut through my reverie. Look! He's amazing! A stranger gushed, nudging their friend. The crowd murmured in agreement, rapt by his melody. But I felt paralyzed. Was he really back, or was this just a cruel twist of fate? My heart pounded, dreading the thought of finding out. As if sensing me, he looked up, piercing through the crowd. Our eyes locked. I gasped. The world faded away. Time stood still. I felt the air grow thick with tension. We were lost in a moment of disbelief. What could this mean? Would he recognize me? Would he turn away, just like before? Then a sudden commotion erupted behind me. A loud crash echoed through the street, shattering the fragile silence. I flinched, the sound mixing with the heartbeat thudding in my ears. I turned, glancing back, only to find chaos as people rushed to see what had happened. My heart raced, but I couldn't look away from Elijah, and in that instant, I knew something deep inside had shifted. My childhood love had returned, but what had he endured? What had I missed? Everything hung in the balance, like the soft notes drifting into the night. My hands trembled, caught between the past and an uncertain future. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The crowd around Elijah seemed to surge, drawn into the sound of his guitar, but I stood frozen, grappling with a kaleidoscope of emotions. Waves of nostalgia washed over me, mingling with a fear that gripped my heart. What had happened to him? Why had he disappeared all those years ago, leaving me aching in a silence I still hadn't fully escaped? As I fought back tears, another commotion erupted just a few feet away. A woman stumbled, clearly distraught, having tripped over a piece of discarded furniture piled carelessly by the sidewalk. Her friends rushed to her side, concern etched across their faces. They momentarily drew my focus, couples whispering gentle reassurances amidst growing anxiety. In that brief pause, my chest squeezed. There was a bitter irony in witnessing such kindness while feeling utterly abandoned by my own past. That Elijah's song filled the air again, a bittersweet serenade that echoed off the cobblestones. It faded slightly as he began to speak, his voice vibrating with the remnants of his song. This one's for the lost and the found. His eyes scanned the audience, but the moment seemed to hang as he landed on mine. You never know what you'll find when you search for what's lost. Intensity radiated from his gaze, wrapping around me like an embrace that I took a hesitant step forward, curiosity battling with fear. My heart urged me to close the distance, to find out what had brought him back into my world, yet the fear of rejection held me like a vice. What would he say? Would he remember? And would I be ready to face the pain of memories revived? With trembling hands, I pushed through the crowd, the sound of Elijah's guitar guiding me. As I finally reached the edge of his performance area, I was met with the sight of the man who once held my heart. His hair was longer, his jaw more defined, but his smilio, that smile felt achingly familiar. It stirred a warmth I thought I had forgotten. The crowd was starting to disperse, applauding as he played the final notes. My heart sank momentarily, fearing this moment would slip away like so many others before it. Just as I prepared to retreat, I felt the gentle squeeze of a small hand on my arm. Startled, I turned to find an older woman, bundled in a faded shawl, her eyes glistening with kindness. "Are you all right, dear?" she asked, concern woven into her voice that I nodded, unable to articulate the tumult swirling within me. "Tuvi just found someone I thought I lost," she smiled faintly, her gaze shifting to Elijah. "Ah, love has a funny way of circling back to us, doesn't it? Sometimes it's worth braving the storm to find what you truly care about." Her words landed softly on my heart, igniting a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. I looked back at Elijah, my resolve building. This was my chance. As the last chords of his song faded into the distance, Elijah set his guitar down and scanned the remaining crowd. I took a deep breath, my body swaying slightly with anticipation. But just as I gathered the courage to call out his name, a man burst through, shoving past me with an intensity that startled everyone around. "Elijah!" the man shouted, his voice tinged with urgency. "You need to come now." "It's about," the man faltered as I caught Elijah's eye, a brief moment stretching between us. Pain flickered across his face, mingling with disbelief. Before I could stop him, he turned to the intruder, a myriad of emotions washing over him as the implications sank in. I stood there, the world spinning around me, confusion swirling in the air. What could possibly be so urgent? As the crowd dispersed, I realized I was on the verge of uncovering the truth of his disappearance, the chance to mend our shattered past slipping away like sand through my fingers. And amid it all, I felt a new wave of fear, a relentless tide threatening to wash away the fragile connection I had just begun to rekindle. Elijah's eyes darted back to me, uncertainty clouding his features. "I'll be right back," he stammered, but the urgency behind the stranger's words hung thick in the air, a storm of doubt gathering in my veins. "Wait!" I called out, desperation fueling my voice, but it was too late. He had already stepped away, pulled into the unknown, just like the years that had swallowed him whole. I was awash with emotion, sadness, confusion, and a bittersweet resolve that tightened around my heart. I had found him, but had I truly lost him again? What truths lay hidden behind that urgent plea, and would I ever have the courage to confront them alongside him? The chaos of the crowd thinned as I stood there, a fragile figure among the retreating faces. Each pulse of uncertainty reverberated in the hollow of my chest where hope and fear battled fiercely for dominance. I watched Elijah stride away, the shadow of urgency overshadowing the light of our connection, and with every step he took, pieces of my heart broke off, drifting into the vast unknown that had separated us for so long. I turned away from the dispersing audience, swallowing the lump threatening to choke me. The older woman remained nearby, still wrapped in her shawl, an unwilling observer of my heartache. She offered a supportive smile, though her own eyes glimmered with unspoken sorrow. "Sometimes the hardest thing is not knowing if you'll ever see them again," she sighed, almost as if echoing my thoughts. It felt as though she had been perched on the edge of her own unfulfilled story, the air between us thick with shared longing. I thought I'd lost him forever, I admitted, swiping at a stray tear that had escaped the confines of my willpower. "And now, just as suddenly, he's back only to be pulled away again. It's a cruel twist of fate," she said gently. "But perhaps it's a sign something in your heart is still calling for him to be found." Her words resonated deeply within me, igniting a flicker of stubborn determination. Perhaps the universe had conspired to bring us together, and I wasn't about to let it rip us apart without a fight. But how? What could I do when everything felt utterly beyond my control? Gathering my thoughts, I glanced over my shoulder, searching for Elijah in the dwindling crowd. He was nowhere to be seen, swallowed by the eagerness of the stranger's urgency. A tang of anxiety mixed with the melancholy pooling in my heart. I needed answers, needed to confront the shadows that had loomed over our relationship for years. "Excuse me," I said, turning back to the woman, "do you know who that man was?" She furrowed her brow, collecting her thoughts. "I believe he was speaking with Elijah before the performance." Someone looked concerned. Her voice stuttered as if the implications of her words hung heavily in the air. "Do you think it could be something bad?" The words slipped out before I could catch them, panic slicing through the fragile hope built in our exchange. Sometimes the worst moments turn into the best opportunities if we let them. She placed a comforting hand on my shoulder, grounding me with her fragile faith. "What matters now is that you follow him, don't let this chance slip away. Don't let fear hold you back." Her encouragement lit a fire beneath my insecurities, bolstering my resolve. I nodded, a kinship threading through our silent understanding. She was right. If I was going to reintegrate Elijah into my life, I had to embrace the unknown alongside him, however terrifying it might be. The rhythm of my heartbeat surged as I took off in the direction Elijah had disappeared. With every step, I wrestled with the cacophony of feelings coursing through me. Memories of our laughter and shared dreams flickered like the street lamps overhead, illuminating the darkness of my doubt. I spotted them further down the block, their figures silhouetted against the dim glow of the fading evening light. Elijah stood rigid, a blend of confusion and apprehension on his face as the man gestured animatedly, nodding insistently. I felt the heat bloom in my chest, my heart urging me to intervene, to demand answers, to ask about the truths hidden in the layers of Elijah's sudden return. But as I approached, I was met with a new figure stepping between them, a woman dressed in a dark blazer, her expression hardened like granite. My stomach twisted at the sight of her. There was an urgency in her stride seeping through the air like a chill. "You need to come with me, Elijah," she commanded, her voice firm, slicing through the tension that enveloped the scene. Now that I froze, caught between the roots of fear and the desire to reach out and call to Elijah, to break through the barriers that seemed to grow taller by the second. Something sinister hovered in the air, palpable and real, and suddenly I felt exposed, a bystander in my own story. "Wait. What's going on?" I burst out before I could stop myself, feeling the sudden weight of all the unspoken words that had swirled between us. Elijah turned abruptly, his eyes meeting mine, the anguish transforming his expression into a mirror of my own concern. In that moment, I bore witness to the truth, the worried lines etched between his brows, the hesitance in his stance. "It's about my brother," he finally said, his voice thin. "They found him." In that instant, the world rocked beneath me, reality shifting as seismic truths pressed down on both our shoulders. My heart constricted, surprise and dread mixing in an acrid cocktail that threatened to choke me once more. What did this mean for us? And most frightening of all, would I have the strength to confront the tempest that was about to sweep through our lives? As the woman pressed her back against Elijah, her determination a fortress against his uncertainty, the streets veiled themselves in shadows, and I realized, with all my heart, that every step I had taken had led me here to this moment of impossible hope mingled with heart-wrenching fear. Would I ever truly get back the love I had lost? Or was this the final chapter of a story still entangled in chaos? The flickering streetlights cast a warm glow on the pavement, but the chill in the air seeped deep into my bones. Staring at Elijah, who now stood before me tethered by the weight of his brother's unexpected return, my heart lurched. "They found him?" I asked, my voice a mix of disbelief and empathy. Elijah nodded, his shoulders tightening under the scrutiny of the woman beside him. I thought we'd lost him," he whispered, barely containing himself. "He's been missing for so long. And now after everything we're supposed to just pick up the pieces." The woman stepped forward, her demeanor shifting from authoritative to compassionate, as if sensing the strain in Elijah's voice. "This is why I'm here, Elijah. We need to get you both somewhere safe. There's a lot that could happen. You have to trust us." That I took a step closer, my instincts clawing at the edges of my fear. What do you mean, safe? What's happening? What is going on with your brother? Elijah's gaze flickered between me and the woman. You don't understand, he said, his voice rising, urgency sparking behind each word. His return isn't just a miracle, it's dangerous. They're not just going to let us leave. That I could feel the atmosphere thickening with tension as the unknown hovered ominously around us. My heart raced, and for a moment, the chaos of the world outside faded, replaced by the single focus on Elijah's fear, a raw energy mingling with the memories of our past. What do you mean by they? I pressed. The helplessness of the situation was palpable, suffocating me, but I needed to know. The people who took him, he murmured, voice barely above a whisper. They want him back. My thoughts spiraled, each one unfurling into a new layer of anxiety. How could a reunion turn into a crisis? Just when I thought fate had offered us a sliver of hope, it twisted into the unimaginable. The urge to protect him surged through my veins, intertwining with my own heartbreak and longings. That we can't just stand here, I implored, shifting towards the woman, ready to forge a path through the uncertainty brewing in the energetic tension. If they're dangerous, we need to do something. Together. Elijah shook his head slowly, still trapped by the shadow of fear. But what can we do? I can't lose him again. I've fought so hard to find him. The woman's gaze softened as she assessed the situation, the fire flickering in her eyes reflecting the urgency of our circumstances. If we want to keep both of you safe, we need to act quickly. There are resources, allies. We can't do it alone, but we can't let fear rule our decisions either. I placed a hand on Elijah's arm, grounding both of us in the swirling vortex of anxiety. Whatever comes next, we will face it together. You're not alone anymore. My voice trembled, a mixture of fear and resolution, but the sincerity behind my words encapsulated all the unspoken connections we had forged despite our time apart. He hesitated but then nodded, the light of determination slowly flickering back into his eyes. Okay. Let's do this. As we started to move, leaving behind the remnants of a city that had witnessed both our love and our trials, I felt a mix of trepidation and resolve bubbling within me. The street felt alive, electric with possibility, even as dark clouds loomed ahead. Turning the corner, the woman guided us towards a modest car parked in a shadowy lot. We'll be safe for now, but we need to think ahead. They won't give up that easily. I slid into the back seat behind Elijah, an overwhelming sense of dread creeping into my bones as we began to drive away from the familiar streets, the life I once knew fading in the rearview mirror. Deep within me, the fears of our past entwined with the uncertainty of our future, pulling at my heart in intricate knots. I could feel new challenges brewing each moment, increasing my anxiety, stirring up the pain I had thought was settling. Just as I opened my mouth to ask what more lay ahead, the woman's phone vibrated violently against the dashboard, cutting through the air like a knife, each ring striking fear deeper into my heart. Shit, she muttered, picking it up with urgency. But before she could answer, the front passenger door swung open, revealing a figure cloaked in the familiar shadows of midnight. An unexpected face, someone I'd never imagined crossing our paths again, a ghost from a moment suspended into me, a sibling cut from the same fabric as Elijah, but smudged with darker hues. Let him come with us, the newcomer asserted, their voice layered with a mixture of wretched relief and ominous intent. Frozen in disbelief, I exchanged glances with Elijah, his expression torn between recognition and confusion, a mirror of my own growing dread. Would this reunion unearth the answers we desperately sought, or draw us deeper into the abyss of our shared past where hope flickered faintly, almost extinguished, amidst the storm raging above? The atmosphere inside the car turned frigid, heavy with unspoken words and past grievances. I grasped at the seatbelt as if it were a lifeline, my heart hammering against my ribs. Elijah's jaw clenched, uncertainty coursing through him as he processed the sight of his brother's unexpected appearance. Derek. What are you doing here? Elijah's voice was just above a whisper, a thread of disbelief running through his tone. Can't believe you'd use such an entrance, Derek responded, forcing a casualness that rang hollow. But hey, I figured you could use a real family reunion. Are we seriously going to ignore what's coming our way? I couldn't help but want to study him, a glimpse of the boy I once knew, now wrapped up in shadows of his own. There was a wildness in his eyes, as if the chaos of the world had found its home there. The weight of his presence was palpable, thickening the air, and suddenly the cramped car felt like a trap. Elijah, it's not safe for you. You need to trust me. I've been trying to protect you, Derek said, glancing at the woman behind the wheel, who appeared unfazed by the tension but kept one eye on the road ahead. Protect me? Elijah scoffed, anger welling up. You disappeared, Derek. I had to fight to find you. And now you show up like you've been on vacation this whole time. It's more complicated than you realize, Derek shot back, frustration breaking through the bravado. I came here because I heard they're looking for you. You have to know that, now we're all a part of this twisted game. I intervened, intent on breaking the mounting tension between the brothers. What do you mean they? Who is after you? Before Derek could respond, the woman interrupted. We need to focus. Any second now. A sudden noise caught my attention, a low rumble, gradually ascending to a roar as a motorcycle swooped past us, followed closely by a dark sedan that appeared from nowhere, tires screeching against the asphalt. My heart sank as the car veered, the headlights of the pursuing vehicle blinding us momentarily. Hold on. The woman shouted, accelerating the car. The tires spun, catching momentum as she veered sharply, forcing us into a frantic escape down an alleyway. The adrenaline pulsed through my veins, grounding me in a moment that felt unreal but urgent. I frantically scanned our surroundings, narrow streets and crumbling buildings looming ominously around us. Suddenly, feelings entwined, fear for Elijah, concern for the darkness lurking in his brother, uncertainty about our futures. As we barreled into an empty street, the woman took a sharp turn, throwing me against the door. If they got a lock on us, we won't be able to outrun them forever. We need to find a place to hide. Think a few steps ahead. Elijah, still reeling from the familial shock, turned to me, his expression strained. What's happening? How did we get here? Life's messy, I replied, feeling the weight of my words wash over us like a tide. But we'll navigate through it. We have each other. As we pushed forward, Derek leaned in, capturing my attention. Listen, I know we haven't interacted in a while, but I need you to understand something. My past, what I got involved in, it's dangerous. And I couldn't let Elijah get caught up again. That I struggled to comprehend his words amidst my own racing thoughts. How many layers were buried beneath Derek's presence? Did he possess knowledge that could shift the tide of our urgency? The tension crescendoed as we approached a stoplight, the red glow stark against the encroaching night. You need to trust me, he continued, there's intel I have. I can help you both, if you'll allow it. Before I could respond, a sudden bang resonated through the air, an explosion of glass shattering behind us. Panic flooded the car, fragments danced in the rearview mirror, trailing like ghosts. My heart sank, not just for us, but for the fragility of paths tethered to violence. Suddenly, the woman swerved, narrowly avoiding another vehicle before redirecting onto a deserted road that seemed to vanish into endless darkness. Derek, what have you done? Elijah's voice was barely a whisper, echoing the question in my mind. The uncertainty lingered, thick and heavy. We skidded to a halt, catching our breath amidst the sirens wailing in the distance, the reality of our choices closing in around us. As we sat there, surrounded by palpable fear, an eerie stillness washed over the space within the car. Get down. They're coming. Derek's fierce tone broke through the oppressive silence as headlights illuminated our hiding place. A decision loomed on the horizon, looming like a dark cloud over our heads and threatening to blanket us in despair. Derek might be our salvation or the end of the fragile hope we had built. And as I shared a glance with Elijah, the powerful connection we felt before seemed to pulsate with renewed urgency, entwining our fates once more in a way I could scarcely begin to comprehend. With a heart racing, I turned to Elijah, ready to remind him that hope often blossoms in the unlikeliest of places, even when darkness threatened to suffocate it entirely. But just then, the car jolted, a knock echoed against the metal, stirring an icy dread coiling around my heart, and as I turned to face the source of that sound, a familiar voice cut through the air, sending shivers down my spine. Elijah? Is that really you? It was a voice I thought I'd never hear again, striking through the chaos like a cruel twist of fate, one more thread to unravel in this tangle woven by missed chances and lingering hurt. The voice rang out like a bell tolling midnight, echoing in the hollow space of my mind. My heart plummeted into my stomach, a mixture of fear and disbelief compelling me to stay rooted in place. There, illuminated by the car's fading headlights, stood Amy, childhood love, the girl whose laughter echoed in memories I thought I had locked away. "What are you doing here?" Elijah's voice trembled in response, disbelief flooding his features as he peered through the tinted window. A concoction of emotions brewed within me: longing, recognition, and dread. "Maya." I barely managed to utter her name, feeling as though the very earth beneath me had shifted. She looked different, aged perhaps, the innocence of youth replaced by a certain resilience that painted her expression with gravity. Yet, her eyes still sparkled with a hint of the joy I remembered, flickering like a candle fighting against the wind. "Is that really you?" She stepped closer, her silhouette growing clearer. The sounds of our chaotic reality faded into the background, all that remained was the pounding of my heart. "It's been what, 5 years?" "7, I corrected instinctively, but it felt trivial amid the horror surrounding us. Every question surged to the forefront of my mind, but before I could voice them, another sharp rap echoed against the metal, violently swiping me back into present danger. "Get down." Derek's voice erupted again, intense and urgent. Instinctively, we all ducked, the adrenaline seeping into our bones as the headlights of the dark sedan flashed ominously through the windshield. "Maya, what are you doing out here? It's not safe." Elijah grasped the edges of the car's window, his desperation clawing for clarity. She began, but the words hung limply in the air, suffocated by the chaos looming beyond her. The sedan rolled ominously forward, drawing nearer, its intentions weaving shadows of uncertainty around us. Before we could react, she threw herself to the ground beside the car, determination lacing her voice. "I need your help. I've been looking for you. Why would you put yourself in danger?" I felt a sharp pang in my chest, seeing her there, vulnerably exposed in the half-light. The desperate hope hidden in her words shook me deeply. "Elijah, listen to her." Derek interjected, his tone a blend of panic and urgency. "If she's here, then they're looking for her too. We can't stay." Reality struck like a harsh blow. The world felt upside down, a whirlwind of past connections drew near, eclipsing the horror unfolding. A part of me wanted to embrace her, to dissolve the years that had driven us apart, but the encroaching darkness demanded attention. "What do you know?" Elijah's voice trembled, layered with concern, urging Maya to divulge whatever secrets she held. "Please." She glanced between us, her gaze imploring. "They're after more than just you. You're tangled in something bigger. It's because of Methy. Think I found something they want back." "Found what?" I asked, my voice a shocking whisper amidst the chaos. She hesitated, uncertainty flashing across her features. The words were stolen away by the roar of engines closing in. The dark sedan opposite us began to reverse. "Go. Now!" Derek shouted, jabbing a finger toward the rearview mirror, growing frantic in our shared realization that time was slipping through our fingers. Maya lunged for the car door, her voice breaking through. "Wait. I can help you navigate this. I know places I can keep you safe if you'll just let me." Elijah's eyes danced between Derek's and mine, caught in the tempest of loyalty to family and the undeniable pull of past love. "We can't just leave her," he shouted. A decision hung heavy, the air thick with potential disaster as memories of laughter and stolen kisses flickered through my mind, a stark contrast to the looming threats around us. "We can't separate now," I urged, my heart pounding, resonating with an uneasy desperation. "If she knows something, we need that information." But before Elijah could make a choice, a suffocating darkness swept across the street as the sedan's lights flickered off. The car's occupants emerged like phantoms, casting long shadows as they advanced towards us. I could see them clearly now, familiar faces twisted with anger and hunger for vengeance. "Time's up," Derek hissed. "Get out, Maya." The familiar, swirling emotions crashed against the tide of danger closing in. I could feel the thrum of uncertainty vibrating through the air. Every second felt like an eternity. What was about to unfold? The past hurtling towards us, the shadows lurking ever closer, and the bonds between us strained to their limits. My heart raced, struggling to maintain footing amidst the storm of choices and revelations still to come, and then, just as I braced for the impact of our decision, Derek's phone buzzed violently against the center console. He snatched it up, his expression shifting from distress to horrified as he read the message. "They know where we are." He proclaimed that in that fragile moment, everything crashed together, a cacophony of emotions, loyalties, and desperation entwined with a shocking finality that stole my breath. As our choices spiraled, the daunting question loomed over us all: how would we escape this engulfing darkness while holding tight to the hope that flickered like embers among the ashes? The air crackled with tension, heavy as the encroaching shadows that seemed to smother the night. My heart raced as I exchanged frantic glances with Elijah and Maya. A million thoughts stampeded through my mind, but clarity was a luxury we couldn't afford right now. "They know we're here." The word strained against the weight of my fear, my voice barely a whisper. The dread that clouded Derek's expression infected us all, a virus of despair gripping tighter. "I thought we had more time," I muttered, my fingers gripping the fabric of my jeans as if it could anchor me against the storm closing in around us. Maya's eyes shone with a desperate resolve. "We have to move. I know a place nearby where we can hide just for a little while." Her breath came in hitches, the urgency in her tone slicing through the malaise gripping us. But before any decision could solidify, another burst of frantic voices erupted near the sedan, shattering the fragile moment we had carved. "They were coming. Get in. Now." Derek's voice cracked with urgency. The reality of our situation yanked me from any lingering memories of comfort I wished to cling to. Elijah hesitated, his mind wrestling with loyalty and fear. "We can't leave her behind. They'll find her." I reached out, grasping his arm. "We can't fight them. We have to run." The pleading in my voice cut through the haze of confusion and love battling for dominance. Maya needed us. While the shadows of doubt loomed, I knew we had to trust her. "Get in." Derek barked again, scrambling into the driver's seat without waiting. I could see panic etched into the tight lines of his face. With a final glance behind, I unlocked the door and slid into the back seat, followed closely by Maya. As the door clicked shut, I felt a tiny flicker of warmth from being so close to her again. A ghost of warmth that I allowed myself to momentarily savor, hiding it behind the immediate veil of danger. Elijah stumbled and last, his gaze darting nervously as he slammed the door behind him. "Go." His voice boomed with the force of urgency as Derek peeled the car away from the curb, the tires screeching against the asphalt. We careened down the street, the headlights slicing through darkness, but the looming specter of danger lingered close behind us. I could almost hear the footsteps of the men outside as they shouted angry accusations into the night. "Where are we headed?" I turned to Maya, whose features were carved with determination. "There's a warehouse at the edge of town. It's abandoned but still safe from prying eyes," she explained, her voice steady despite the tempest raging around us. "We can lay low there until we figure out our next move." Derek didn't respond, his focus locked on the road. Every bump in the pavement seemed exaggerated, every turn felt like an unsteady gamble against fate. I snapped my attention back to Maya, stored memories swirling uneasily in my heart, mingling with a burgeoning sense of urgency. "Are you sure this is safe?" I could hear the tremor of my own fear, a sound I barely recognized in myself. Maya nodded, her expression firm. "They're not the only ones searching for us. There are people out there who want me to find something for them too. But I can't without your help." Her eyes searched mine, a reflection of the determination growing in my chest, but imprinting a shadow of worry that chilled me. "Like what?" I asked softly, needing the reassurance of clarity as much for myself as for the group. "An artifact, something that can change everything, or so they believe. But it's not about the artifact, it's about the connection to our past, the reasons why they're targeting you." A profound sadness clouded her gaze. "It's my fault. I thought I could hide, but it's my history that's put you all in danger. Then we'll figure it out together, Elijah interjected, placing a hand on her shoulder gently, as if to reinforce the bond breaking through the fear. As we barreled forward into the night, Derek made a sharp turn, and I felt my stomach lurch. Thick trees cloaked our surroundings, and for a second, a glimmer of hope flickered in my heart. Perhaps this was the chance to confront whatever darkness lay ahead, cloaked in the memories of our innocent past, but as the warehouse loomed just ahead, dark and silent, another vibration swept through Derek's phone, sending another wave of dread crashing over us. "There's another message, it's from Carla," Derek announced, his voice wavering slightly. "Who's Carla?" I asked, my stomach sinking as dread replaced the heady rush of earlier. "She's Ash's someone I thought I could trust," he replied, his expression falling. "But she's not safe. She says they're onto her too and they're coming for us." Shock lanced through me, an icy grip stealing my breath. Maya glanced around the cabin, her eyes reflecting a mix of horror and realization. "If they're onto her, they will be onto us." That unyielding truth punctured the fragile bubble of hope we had begun to spin. I turned to Elijah and Maya, searching their faces for some semblance of comfort, but instead what I found was a shared recognition of the escalating storm. As we parked outside the warehouse, darkness engulfing us like a suffocating shroud, it became abundantly clear that our pasts were entwined in ways we hadn't yet begun to comprehend. But as Derek read feverishly through the new messages, a chilling finality settled over the air. "We need to go inside." Now, the door opened and a gust of wind billowed through, carrying a disquieting scent of rust and despair. We stepped out, uncertainty wrapping around us like a shroud, realizing that this was just the beginning. Before I could gather the courage to move forward, Derek halted, his eyes widening in horror. "There's someone inside," Maya's breath caught in her throat. The once flickering flame of hope sputtered against a new wind that heralded unfamiliar danger. I could hardly breathe as the reality of our next dire turn loomed, shoving us deeper into the heart of our unraveling lives. The moon hung high, casting a spectral glow over the warehouse as if it, too, held its breath in silent anticipation. I felt a shiver run down my spine, a mixture of fear and curiosity entwined in a never-ending dance. Derek's eyes were fixed at the slightly ajar door, horror etching lines across his forehead, and my heart raced, a wild drum beating against the encroaching night. "Who is it?" Maya's whisper trembled with a cocktail of anxiety and resolve. My hand reached for hers instinctively, intertwining our fingers. The warmth briefly soothed my fraught nerves. "I don't know," Derek managed, voice barely above a whisper. "But I have a bad feeling." Elijah took a step toward the door, determination flaring in his eyes. "We can't just stay out here. We have to see no." I urged, panic threading through my voice. "What if it's them? What if they're waiting for us?" Before I could finish, a soft scuffle echoed from within, causing all of us to jump. My pulse quickened, the hairs on the back of my neck standing tall. "Maybe it's just some stray," Maya suggested, but her voice quivered, betraying her doubt. Somehow, we all felt the heavy weight of our pasts pressing down on us like a storm cloud ready to burst. Suddenly, Derek pushed through the door, and we fell into step behind him, the shadows swallowing us whole. Inside, the darkness cradled us, whispering secrets, but the cold air was suddenly punctuated by a familiar sound, a voice that braced against my heart like a long-forgotten melody. "Please, just leave me alone." The desperate plea echoed through the silence, slicing through the tension like a knife. My breath caught as I realized who it was. "Celia." I called out, my voice wavering yet primal in its urgency. A dim light flickered nearby, illuminating the chaos we now faced. There, huddled beside an old crate, was my childhood friend, Celia, her features worn yet fierce. Her eyes widened at the sound of my voice, and in that moment, everything I had buried rushed back: the laughter, the secrets, the dreams. "Shay!" she exclaimed, her voice a mix of relief and anguish. She scrambled to her feet, and instead of running toward me, she stepped backward, almost into the shadows. "You shouldn't have come here." "Celia, what's happening?" My heart beat heavily in my chest, and I could sense the overwhelming weight of stories untold lurking between us. "Are you in trouble?" Tears glimmered in her eyes, but she shook her head furiously. "You have no idea. There's no time." She cast a glance over her shoulder, filled with a raw panic that mirrored my own. "They're coming. You need to leave now. What do you mean?" I stepped closer, shrouded in confusion as the 6-year-old memories of playing jump rope in warm sunshine washed over me. "We can help you. Tell us what's going on." "Help?" She let out a hollow laugh, desperation mingling with despair. "You don't understand. I've been running for so long. This is bigger than me, Shay. Bigger than any of us. If they find you here they can't know we're together." This was a mistake. Derek's voice was strained as he stepped beside me, a protective instinct flaring to life. "Maya." Celia locked eyes with my companion, the fear in her gaze softening to a sad understanding. "You need to go. Take every piece of my heart with you, no matter what I ask of you. Just run." Before I could reply, the heavy sound of footsteps echoed behind us, closer than they had been moments ago. My heart raced to a fevered pitch, fear gripping my throat. "Stay behind me," Derek commanded, positioning himself in front of us as we pressed toward the wall, shadows clinging to us like a hungry fog. As the figure emerged from the shadows, my world tilted dangerously on its axis. Before me stood not the menacing faces we had dreaded, but a visage more haunting: Carla, the one who had infiltrated our trust, her expression imperturbable under moonlight. "That I told you they'd come," Carla said, her voice smooth as silk but dripping with menace. "And now I have you all in one place." My mind spun with 1,000 conflicting thoughts as a wave of betrayal crashed over me. The tension crinkled the air, suffocating the fragile connection we had fought so hard to forge. "Celia, run! Get out of here!" I shouted, desperation curling around my words, but she only met my gaze with a haunting sorrow that cut deep. "Shay," she whispered, and the world shrank down to the two of us, wrapped in yellowed memories of childhood longing. "You deserve better. I wish I had been brave enough to protect you." In that instant, I understood a realization that twisted painfully in my chest. This was not just a fight against shadows but a battle against the lies we had woven into our lives. "Celia, please," I begged, tearing my gaze from Carla, who moved closer, her lips curling into a predatory smile. But before I could plead further, a loud crash reverberated from the door we had just entered through, splintering the silence with the sound of an intrusion. A wave of men burst in, their voices ordering one another loudly, a chilling army marching towards our impending doom. "Run!" Maya screamed, and without hesitating, I took Celia's hand, forcing my body into motion as adrenaline outweighed fear, but in that chaotic dance of desperation, I stole one last glance back at Carla, who held a twisted smirk as she pointed a finger at me. "You'll regret this decision, Shay. Revelations await, and they aren't for the faint-hearted." The world around us began to shatter piece by piece, reality echoing with threats, ominous laughter buzzing in my ears. I tightened my grip on Celia's hand, knowing that I was about to dive into a darkness deeper than I had ever known. And as we dashed headlong into an uncertain future, another realization washed over me that would haunt me long after the night faded into dawn. We were puppets tangled in a larger web, and the strings had begun to pull tight, dragging us towards a climactic moment none of us had the power to stop. The warehouse loomed behind us like a beast awakening from slumber, shadows stretching as our frantic footsteps echoed down the alley. I could feel Celia's hand trembling in mine, a chilling reminder of the vulnerability we both faced. The city streets whispered around us, but each sound felt amplified, like a countdown to an inevitable confrontation that we can't stop, Derek urged, glancing back as if the darkness itself had eyes. "Keep moving," Maya led the way, her determined posture a flickering light in our grim flight, yet I couldn't help but glance at Celia, hoping to find some reassurance in her familiar eyes. Instead, the fear etched across her face was a stark reminder of the gravity of our situation. "Where can we go?" I gasped, my breath ragged with urgency. "Somewhere safe," she replied, but there was a shadow in her tone, an undercurrent of doubt. But I don't know if anywhere is safe anymore. As we rounded a corner, I felt my heart sink. There, sprawled against the cold bricks of the alley, was a figure hunched in despair. My pulse raced, recognizing the disheveled form of Aaron the artist who once painted our dreams in the local gallery, now a ghost of his former self. The vestiges of his once vibrant life were replaced by a dull emptiness. Shay. He blinked up at me, confusion glazing his features. Aaron. What happened? I stumbled to his side, shock replacing my earlier fear. Celia hesitated for only a moment before she moved to help him. Everything fell apart, he muttered, his voice cracking under the weight of it all. I thought I could trust them. I should have known better. Celia looked torn between the urgent need to flee and the instinct to comfort. We don't have time, Aaron. They're after us. With surprising strength, he nodded and began to rise, assisted by Celia. Then we need to move. More than any of us realizes, but as we turned to leave, the echo of heavy boots filled the air with an oppressive tension. No, no, no. My heart raced, blood pounding in my ears as the realization dawned. They were already here. Maya, cover our back. I shouted as we picked up the pace, fear pouring through our veins like ice. The street ahead looked deserted, but the buildings loomed like specters, holding 1,000 secrets. There's a small cafe a block away, I said, desperation lacing my words. We can hide there, are you sure? Derek's voice was low, tinged with doubt and fatigue. It's the best chance we have. I replied, forcing conviction into my tone. As we sprinted, the distance from the warehouse shrank, but with it our hope dwindled. Each footfall felt like an admission of the truth: we were being hunted, and the hunters had the scent. I could almost hear Carla's mocking laughter echoing in my mind, filling the cool air with dread. When we reached the cafe, its lights were dim, a flicker of warmth in the encroaching darkness. I pushed through the door, adrenaline surging, and caught sight of the barista, young woman named Sophie, her eyes wide with recognition, and not a hint of fear. Shay. What are you doing here? She exclaimed, clearly unsettled. They're coming. We need help. I pleaded, not even bothering to explain further. Yet, before she could react, the door swung open behind us with a deafening thud, and a wave of men in dark clothing flooded in, eyes scanning the room with predatory precision. My heart seized, terror lacing my throat. Shut the door. Lock it. Maya urged, pushing against the growing chaos. Sophie moved quickly, fumbling with the lock, but it was too late. The men approached with measured steps, silhouettes draped in menace. I could see Carla at the back, her expression a mixture of triumph and malice. We've finally found you, she said, her voice cutting through the air like ice. It's time for you to choose, Shay. Choose. I repeated, confusion spiraling in my chest. What are you talking about? Your past, your loyalties, or the truth of who you really are? You were always meant to be more than just a scared girl running away. Her gaze landed on Celia, whose back stiffened as if in recognition of a shared weight. The complexities of our intertwined lives unraveling before me. That's not right, I managed, inches away from someone who wielded pain like a weapon. I won't let you do this. Suddenly, Aaron stepped forward, shaking off the remnants of his despair. You don't know what you're doing. His voice rang with both defiance and desperation. As the tension bristled in the air, it resonated with the murmur of Sophie and Derek trying to find an escape route, swept into our storm of chaos. This is your last chance, Shay, Carla pressed, her voice almost seducing in its accusation. Join us, or watch them suffer. It's that simple. Embrace your destiny. Before I could respond, thunderous footsteps echoed from outside. The unmistakable sound of sirens punctured the night air, coupled with the distant flash of red and blue lights illuminating the dim cafe through the windows. In that moment of trepidation, a decision loomed over us like a guillotine, threatening to sever every bond forged between us. As their faces twisted in disbelief, I realized that each choice led us to a precipice more daunting than the last, and in that split second, the truth unraveled beneath my feet. What if this was never about fleeing or fighting but confronting the dark, aching questions lurking in the shadows of our past? But even as hope flickered in the uncertainty, I could hear Carla's voice whispering ominous promises, and we were running out of time. Time unraveled around us, a cruel echo of the past converging with the present, threatening to pull us under like a tide too fierce to resist. I stood amidst friends turned companions, the whispers of destiny threading through our hurried breaths. The fear prickled my skin, an electric current surging with an awareness I had never truly grasped. As sirens blared outside, the air thickened with an impending confrontation, a kaleidoscope of emotions surging to the surface. Listen to her, Shay. Carla's voice rang out, steadier now, almost intimate in its urgency. You've been chosen, whether you like it or not. You can wield power that can shift everything, destroy the chains binding your past. Don't you want to break free? The words swirled around me, enchanting yet dangerous, like a spell cast to bring forth hidden shadows. I felt the weight of her gaze, a mixture of fear and admiration reflected in her eyes, a promise intertwined with a warning. You've been oblivious to the truth, but you don't have to remain a victim. You can rise. I turned my head toward Elijah, longing to gauge his resolve in the maelstrom swirling around us. His eyes mirrored the tumult, the struggle between the boy I once loved and the man he had now become, the realization settling heavy upon him. Is this what you want? He asked quietly, tenderness laced with disbelief. That I don't know, I breathed, grappling with the magnitude of her insinuations. The truth? What truth, Carla? Before she could respond, the blast of police lights glittered like fractured stars outside, creating a chiaroscuro of uncertainty on our faces. The urgency heightened, and the horrific sound of pounding feet made it clear that refuge was a fleeting dream. Run! I shouted, adrenaline spiking as the door to our tenuous safety crashed wide open, the dark forms of men filling the entrance. Too late for that. One of them shouted, eyes darting toward us with predatory focus. In that heart-splitting second, clarity pierced through the shadows. It was do or you had to either turn and fight or flee and embrace the unknown. Shay. Aaron, rising beside me, steadied himself as a thick air of resolution fell over us. We fight. Together. We draw the line. His certainty ignited something within me, a boiling determination intertwined with our childhood threads, tangling in and out of my veins like wildfire. All right, I breathed, sensing the electric buzz of our alliance knitting tighter. Whatever it is Carla wants us to do, we do it together, Maya echoed, linking her fingers through mine and squeezing with urgent warmth. Let's show them the legacy that's waiting to be unearthed, Derek said, the fire in his voice embossed with a flicker of camaraderie. Fueled by this newfound spirit of resilience, I thrust my chin forward. Carla, I called, what do we do? A smile crept across her lips, and in that moment, a veil lifted, the true convergence of our histories and destinies coalescing into a single point of radiant clarity. Embrace who you are. Stand tall as the forces collide. When the world expects you to flinch, surge forward and claim your place among those who've stood before you. The words danced through the group, stirring something primal within. We surged together, ready to confront the chaos unraveling outside and the shadows creeping ever closer. As the police burst through the door, we braced ourselves for a surge of uncertainty, hearts pounding in time with the impending storm. Now! I cried out, feeling the pulse of destiny throbbing beneath the surface, an awakening of something much grander than fear. And together we charged, hearts entwined against the tide, as the apartness of our lives melded into a tapestry that told the story of all our anguish and all our hopes. Just when the world threatened to swallow us whole, a shimmer of light shoved through like a lighthouse guiding ships home, illuminating a path once veiled in uncertainty. And there, in that raw tapestry of unyielding love and courage, the flickering flame of hope caught fire as we moved forward, hand in hand, casting aside shackles of the past, fully surrendering to the unknown. In the eye of chaos, we finally recognized the brilliance of our connection, and as I inhaled deeply, the rich essence of our shared strength mid-rebellion, realization struck like lightning. In unity, we reclaimed our forgotten story. We're not victims, we're the architects of our destiny, I whispered, echoing the heartbeat of our newfound spirits, igniting hope in the void of uncertainty, and at last, ready to embrace whatever awaited us just beyond the horizon.